friends get together so they can try things. You're invited to this podcast so that you can try things. Now we will stop singing so that we can all now try this.
And we're brown, so it all worked
and
out.
welcome to Now Try This, the podcast where Nick ignores my countdown entirely and continues having the conversation we're having off screen.
Guys, we got a special treat for you. Hello, welcome to the podcast. I am Nick. That beautiful bastard over there is Marcus. Say hello, Marcus.
Hello.
Good job. You're crushing it. Guys, this is Now Try This. We're best friends and we try shit. That's the show. And because
that was
circumstances.
so good. I feel like a lot of times I have a
Succinct.
hard time describing the show to people, and people are like, "Oh, what is your podcast?" I'm like, "Well, we talk about men's rights and stuff like that."
No,
like,
no. Walk it back.
wait,
Walk
is
it
that
back.
not the
Walk it back. Not the
podcast?
time. Not the time. Not
Is
the
that
time.
not
Not the
the
time.
podcast?
There is too much going on in right wing circles right now for us to like even pretend to dip our toes over there, boy. Guys, we got a special treat. October is done and gone, but circumstance from our lives, mostly sickness, have caused us to delay this challenge. This challenge that is Marcus's to me. This challenge that is spooky. This is scary. That is thrilling. Guys, Spooky Boys Month is here for one more week. Welcome to it. Welcome to our horror time of the month. I left my spider webs and my
I
orange light
noticed
up.
that.
Not because I'm lazy.
No, I knew
because
it
it's
was
still Spooky
intentional.
Boys Month.
I knew
Oh,
it
wait.
was intentional.
I didn't light up my pumpkin. Hold on. Lighting up my pumpkin. Aha!
Nice. Oh, looks good. I like
Tazam
that.
in the chat is asking, where is my beard? I shaved because to honor our challenge this week, the Lighthouse. I looked for a captain's hat and I couldn't find one.
Oh, did you really shave for the Lighthouse? I don't believe you.
No, I did not. But
Okay.
you're supposed to. That's not how this. You're supposed
Yes,
to say yes.
and
Yeah, you're crushing it. Crushing it. Guys, this is Now Try This. This podcast you can reach every week. You can join our community. You can leave us reviews, all that good stuff. But the real place to join us, the real place to be a part of us is at patreon.com/nowtrythiscast. With a small donation, you can join the Patreon and every month vote on one of the tries that we have to do. That's right. This podcast is one best friend or another best friend challenging the other best friend. But when you join the Patreon, you become our best friend and you get to challenge us. And if you submit $5 for the Patreon, you actually get to submit what we are going to try, just like Fear God of Death did. And he won this month. And next week we are doing Chainsaw Man.
Chainsaw Man. I'm very excited about Chainsaw Man.
Is that how the theme goes?
Chainsaw Man.
I want you to know-
Man. He rides around with the chainsaw hand. Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man. He's got a chainsaw hand and a chainsaw pants. Chainsaw pants? No, sorry.
He might have chainsaw pants. I haven't seen it yet, but we'll watch that next week. Do you know how much we're watching?
I think currently there are 4 episodes out, and next week there will be 5 episodes, so somewhere between 1 and 5.
Let's say 4 at the least.
Okay.
We'll do 4 at the least. Guys, do all those things. Join the Patreon. Join us. Marcus, we've been out a couple weeks. Hot dog, daddy, doggo. What happened last week that people missed? What was our episode? Why should people check that out?
Last week, which episode are you talking about? The Word Darling or the Halloween Ends one?
The Halloween Ends, where we had a guest and it was a big deal. And making sure people go check that out.
Yes. Yeah, I remember. So last week we did a special Halloween stream. In continuing with tradition on the podcast, we finished the trilogy, and hopefully it's only a trilogy, of Halloween movies, and we watched Halloween Ends, and we were joined by special guest Dan Drambles, who is a very good YouTuber who I am a fan of, and I believe Nick is as well.
I'm the one who told you to get him.
No, whoa.
You introduced me to. He's your boy, though. You're the fan. You're the OG fan.
Okay.
You're the OG fan.
Okay.
And guys who tuned in that episode, thank you so much. Sorry there wasn't audio, but it is up on podcast feeds now, and it will be up everywhere else soon.
I removed it from the Twitch, so it should not be visible on Twitch to anyone. So if you were there live, you saw our major fuck up. but afterwards, no more. So we're going to re-upload it to Twitch.
Oh, question from the fans for you guys, mostly Marcus. I thought I was going to ask. Would you guys be interested in us rebroadcasting streams? Because I don't know if you noticed, we are here Tuesday this week, and we will be here Tuesdays going forward because some cool cat on the podcast now has a show on Thursday nights where he performs over here in New York City. You guys can come check it out, themagnatheater.com.
Yes, thank you very much. I have a show at the Magnet Theater. It's a one-man show called Marcus Does What, where I do wild and crazy things every Tuesday night.
And then when you walk on stage, you just put your arms up and the whole audience goes, Marcus does what?
Yeah. I do like Hulk Hogan. I just kind of like do one of these.
Yeah.
And they say, Marcus does what? And yeah, it's fantastic.
That's Marcus. You can put that show in New York City easy. Easy. I would love to see it. It would be fantastic. But guys, we will be at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesdays going forward. But if you would like a rebroadcast or something on the Thursdays that we usually have of last week's episode or something like that, let us know. Let us know what you want. Let us know what you want us to do different. You want us to do this every day of the week? We'll do it. But y'all have to join the Patreon so we can quit our jobs. Patreon.com/nowtrythiscast.
That's the only way.
Thank you for the mustache
A
props.
lot
Guys,
of mustache compliments today.
listen, there are people that are listening to this on their podcast feed and aren't tuning into twitch.tv/nowtrythiscast or looking on youtube.com/nowtrythiscast. But those people that don't get to see it don't see my beautiful new mustache I have grown, which is kind of a misnomer because you don't grow the mustache. I shaved everything else besides the mustache.
And you grew the mustache.
At some point in my life.
At some point in your life, it was grown on your face.
Yeah. Can you ever,
Okay.
do you realize that every time you grow your beard out, you're growing a mustache?
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did shave like this for Top Gun, Daron. Thank you. And Nick Mason in chat. It is hot. Yo, honestly, real talk. I looked in the mirror when I first did this and I got my haircut and I looked and all I could think of was 70s porn star. And I was all for it. I was like, you know what? 70s porn star. That's the new Nick 6.0 over here for November.
Nick, your confidence levels are wild sometimes. They're like this. And I don't understand it.
Because I was calling myself fat right before we started.
Yeah,
and
you
here
were
I am
looking
calling
at yourself,
myself a
you're
sex
like,
god.
oh my God, I'm so disgusting. Oh my God. And then now you're like, I wanted to fuck myself. I looked so good.
Almost like people with really low self-esteem have a lot of bravado and bluster. Marcus, before we get to what are we doing?
The Lighthouse.
Have you tried anything new?
Have I tried anything new? Nick, I did try something new. I got my wisdom teeth removed. All four of them
Where
at
did
the
they go?
same time. They're, I'm assuming, in my dentist's collection of teeth. Because I feel like
You didn't get to keep them?
I didn't get to keep them.
What?
I wanted to ask, but my mouth was full of blood. So I didn't have a chance.
Bullshit.
I
That
know.
is straight up bullshit.
I know.
You should keep the wisdom teeth.
One of the
We could
teeth.
have given them away as prizes.
That's weird, but yes.
You could have turned them into dice.
That's better. That I would love that. I want bone dice more than
Yeah.
anything. One of the teeth had an extra root,
Oh, oof.
which was weird. I had a weird mutant wisdom tooth. And the dentist, as Daron is saying in the chat, kept talking about how big my teeth were. He's like, your teeth are so big, which I feel like, I mean, not to brag or anything, but like, thank you very much. I do have big teeth. And we can start an OnlyFans for my teeth if you want.
All I can imagine now is the fact that you have big teeth just also means you have a big head, which you do.
I do have a big head, but it is. I think it's proportional with the rest of my body.
100%.
Yeah.
But if you just cut off your head and put it next to a whole bunch
It's
of
a
heads,
big
people will
head.
be like, fuck, that's a fucking big ass.
It's a big head. It's a big head, big brains is what they say.
I don't think anyone says that. I don't think there's a single person that says that. And literally, dinosaurs had the biggest heads, and their brains were.
Nick Mason says, "I wanted to
There's
ask."
so many people
there's
asking
a lot
because
of
how
chat.
big are your teeth? How big are your teeth?
I don't know. Hold on. Let's see if I can. Get in there.
Holy shit! Look at those chompers.
For scale. Here's my pinky. I have a big. I don't know. I have a big pinky also.
You
It's
also
not
a big
helpful.
pinky. Your pinky's bigger than mine. Holy
My
shit.
pinky is
Look
huge.
at your pinky compared to mine. It was fucking huge. That's a big ass pinky. Holy shit. Marcus,
I've
we need to
got-
move on because I'm enthralled about your
We're
pinkies.
doing
and
great.
your
Honestly,
teeth.
Tuesday nights are better already. Look at the chat. We got so many people. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Marcus, this week we are doing The Lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
What is The Lighthouse and why did you give it to me?
The Lighthouse is a 2019 film directed and produced by Robert Eggers from a
Gross.
screenplay he co-wrote with his brother.
Nepotism, gross.
It stars Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson as 19th century wikis, lighthouse keepers, in turmoil after being marooned at a remote New England outpost by an intense storm.
Gross.
The film categories are
Okay, stop.
horror, psychological thriller, and survival.
Pretend like you're good at this because you are.
Wait, I'm a little bit rusty, okay? We've been out for a couple of weeks.
The Lighthouse first emerged from Mex's re-envisioning of
Here's the plot. In the 1890s.
Stop. Marcus. So this film is a little older. It's 3 years. It's fairly new-ish. It was pre-COVID 3 years ago. It was a big deal when it came out, but nobody's hankering or talking about The Lighthouse. Marcus, why did you give me this film?
Nick, I gave you this film because it is we were doing Halloween films and I had given you a choice. I said we can get something critically acclaimed or something funny and silly.
Yeah.
You chose
Right.
critically acclaimed. So this
I
is
did.
your fault that we're
No,
doing
hold
The
on.
Lighthouse.
To be super specific and
Sure.
nitpicky,
Okay.
ultimately the choice became between critically acclaimed or Wolf Cop. And with those two
Which
options,
was also critically acclaimed. I do want to
with
put
those
that out there.
with those two options, it seemed like easy layup to not pick Wolf Cop.
Well, I guess we'll learn later at the end. I'll add on a bonus question. Would you have rather watched Wolf Cop?
Oh, that's a great question.
And you know what? Maybe that'll be a question going forward forever. Will you have rather watched Wolf Cop?
Every week, can you just give me the option of what you're going to give me and Wolf Cop?
Yeah.
Every week, it's the other option I always pick.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
It's very good. Wolf Cop is a fantastic movie.
We get t-shirts that say fill in the blank or Wolf Cop.
There you go. But the reason I gave you this movie is I watched it. It took me a long time to watch it also. I wanted to see it in theaters because it seemed like my kind of film. And then I just missed the opportunity to. And so I was like, you know what I'll do? I'll watch it later. And it kept being later and later and later and later. And eventually I just watched it.
Did you watch it over COVID with the time, with the extra time?
I think so. And I loved it. It just like was beautifully shot. And I'm going to be honest with you. First time I watched the movie, I didn't get it. Do I get it now? Probably not really, but we'll talk about it. But I just loved the cinematography. I thought every shot was gorgeous. And I thought the style of choosing to do it in black and white was really interesting. And a lot of the imagery that we'll talk about later, also, I just was like captivated by it. And that's it. I found myself absolutely loving this film and the way it was presented. And even though I didn't necessarily fully understand it, it really resonated with me. It felt like watching a play on screen, and not a lot of movies can pull that off while also delivering some sort of like some psychological horror, Cthulhu inspired horror, spooky elements in there as well.
Yeah. I missed the boat on this movie.
Okay.
But I was in the same boat as you. This was the time that I was watching a lot of movies, but it also came out, if I remember correctly, during award season movie time.
Yes.
So, I mean, what else? I'm going to check while we're talking. What else came in?
2019.
Yeah, because I wanted to see it in theaters as well. I missed the boat. Oh yeah, Green Book. I watched it in theaters. Bohemian Rhapsody. I watched it in theaters. The Favorite. I watched it in theaters. Black Klansman. Watched it in theaters. Black Panther. Watched it in theaters. Starborn. Watched it in theaters. That premiered in February 2019. No. I want 2020 Oscar nominee, right? Oscars are so confusing. Do I put in?
I don't know at all.
What?
But Was
when did
Lighthouse
Parasite come out?
nominated for something?
2019 Parasite. Yes. So this is Parasite. This is the season. Parasite watched in theaters. Ford versus Ferrari watched in theaters. 1917. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Jojo Rabbit. Marriage Story. Little
Yes.
Women. I watched all of those movies.
Parasite,
It was a heavy season for film. So I just. Oh yes, Wolf Cop sure does have a sequel.
Wolf Cop,
So
the sequel is even better than Wolf Cop.
Even if I do pick Wolf Cop on your either or asks, the joke can keep going because then it's Wolf Cop 2.
Yeah.
But in that year, in that end of the year season, there were just so many movies come out, and this one seemed artsy and like a harder watch. And after a long day's work, do I want to watch this or do I want to watch Little Women? Do I watch this or 1917 or A Marriage Story or Jojo Rabbit? I always opted for the other ones. So I also missed the boat, and it seemed like a hard movie to watch at home. And I'll be honest, I started to watch this movie a year and a half, 2 years ago online.
Oh, wow.
And I got 15, 20 minutes in, never picked it back up, never continued it, never thought it was a good use of my time to continue the film. And not even because it was so bad. It was just like,
it's a mood. You
I don't
gotta
know.
be in
So
the
I'm
right
not getting
mood.
back to it. Oh my God. No truer words have ever been spoken of. Having to be in the right mood to watch this film.
If you are not in the right mood to watch this film, it will not go down smooth.
It will be trash.
I will admit something. Rewatching this film, I stopped halfway through the movie and I was like, I'm done for now. I'm good for now. I will watch the rest later.
It's not an easy watch. It's not easy. You know, there are some films that are deep and poetic and daring, like Parasite. Parasite, I would say, has a lot to say, just like this movie does. But that's an easy watch.
Yes.
That is an easy, compelling film to watch. This is a little bit of a slog.
Yeah.
But whether that's good or bad, who are we
We'll
to
get
decide?
into
But I will
it.
say, you know what I find real funny before we even get to the film?
We are getting to the
Robert
film.
Eggers.
We talked about the Lighthouse already. Don't
Oh, okay, cool.
Don't lie to our fans like that.
All right, well then let me talk about some like life-defining moment when I was 16 and completely
No.
veer off topic. I'm just kidding. But Robert Eggers is the director and co-screenwriter of this film. We don't like him.
Well,
Before The Lighthouse,
hold on.
we saw The Witch
Yes.
together, and we hated it.
No, not exactly.
Yes.
If you remember correctly, you and I watched The Witch together. We were sitting in the theaters and we complimented it the whole time, but we were like, we didn't like the movie. That is the conclusion I've come to about this. And I remember talking to you about it. The cinematography was great. The writing was intelligent.
Interesting.
The acting was interesting. The imagery was wonderful. The soundtrack was great. Every aspect of that film worked. But altogether, I didn't give a shit about it.
We didn't like it.
I didn't like it.
We didn't like the movie.
Yes.
Interesting. And then, but my takeaway from that was I didn't like this dude.
My takeaway from it was this man is talented and I want to see what else he does.
You're more giving than I am. And then he also just came out with his third film, which was The Northman. Have you seen this?
Yes, I have. I hated it.
From my impression of listening to viewers and stuff, and maybe this is the right
I haven't
perception,
heard a single review. Do they like it?
No. Is that it's like a bloated, pompous, masturbatory movie that's not very good.
So Daron and I went to go see Banshees of Shire.
Yes.
So, you know that movie? The new Banshees.
I know what you're talking about.
The new Banshee movie.
New
From
Banshee
X-Men?
movie. Yeah, Banshees of Inisherin.
Yes, Banshees of Inisherin.
Inisherin.
And right before it, I was like, you know what? I forgot why we were talking about The Northman, but I think we went to see The Northman in the same movie theater. And I was like, that movie felt like the creator just had his head up his own ass the entire time.
Yeah.
It just was like so self-indulgent and like, wow, look what I'm doing. And it was very annoying. And I really did not like it, which is a shame because I do really like The Lighthouse a lot.
Yeah.
And I respect the shit out of the movie.
Sure. I mean, we'll start talking about it, but it's just funny to me where it's like those are this dude's 3 movies where it's just like so specific, you know,
It
to
is
him,
specific.
which I actually respect.
I like that too.
There's so many directors that I don't know what you've done, I don't know what you're doing, I don't know what's going on. And this dude, I was like, I get what you're trying to do. You, I think, are veering towards the area of where I might not ever like anything you ever do.
Yeah.
But I'm here to like listen to the story and listen to what's going on.
I feel
Because
like
as
the-
I'm, go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. I was going to say, I feel like the Northmen, it's hard to gauge, right? Like The Witch, I really respected. The Lighthouse, I really enjoyed. And then the Northmen, I felt like, not that it was mainstreamy, but it just felt like it was like not, it didn't feel like it had a good, unique take on anything.
It seemed like it needed to either be more mainstream or like less. Like it needed to
I
be
think it
more
needed to be
indie or
less.
more mainstream.
I think it definitely needed to be less.
Well, if it was more mainstream, it would have just been like a cool action movie with Vikings, and it would have been like, okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah. Have
You
you
know?
watched it? No, you haven't.
No,
Okay.
I have not. So this movie, though, The Lighthouse, as I'm reading about it, because this is the first movie in a long time where you've given me, and immediately I had to like, no, I'm lying to myself. This is the first movie I think I've ever had to, as I was watching it, knowing I had to review it and talk about it here, I opened up the wiki and followed along the plot. Because I was like, wait a sec, did what just happen I think happened? And most of the time I was like, yes, okay, that is what happened. I'm on the same page.
Okay.
But there were like 2 or 3 times where I was like, oh, got it. That's what happened. Okay. I'm back.
So this movie, I do want to mention, earlier you had said it was like a success. I'm looking at the Wikipedia now, and it says it grossed 18 million and the budget was 11 million. So it's not that a lot of people didn't go see it. It was critically acclaimed, but it wasn't like a financial success.
Yeah, critically acclaimed, 100%.
Yeah.
A lot of nominations, some awards.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is one of the most mainstream art house movies I have ever seen. It is an art house, artsy fartsy. It is way leagues above a student film or something college or some shit like that, but it is that vein. It is something you would see at
Sundance.
It is something you would, or Sundance, at Cannes. It is something that would not grace Amazon Prime. It is something that would not go on Netflix, but it just inches past its like art house label to get to the mainstream because people know of this film.
Yeah.
This is a film that in critic circles, every critic knows it, right? And a good chunk of regular moviegoers do know it exists, maybe just because of the name power of Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, but I think also the movie kind of transcended itself. Not a lot of people saw it, but a lot of people heard about it and knew about it.
Yeah.
Which is impressive in and of itself.
It's funny. I had an exchange with someone and I was like, oh, The Lighthouse, you should watch it. And I granted, I don't necessarily think they would have liked it, but they were talking about Robert Pattinson as Batman. And I was like, oh, well, like I really enjoyed him in The Lighthouse and he acted the shit out of that movie. And I feel like he's going to do a great job as Batman, or at least a competent job. And they disagreed and they're like, well, he's just the Twilight guy. And I'm like, man, I feel like there is an amount of people that still view him as the Twilight guy. And I gotta say, I don't think, maybe you think differently, but I don't think you're gonna watch this movie and leave with that same opinion. Like Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, whether you like the movie or not, I think acted the shit out of this movie.
I think that Robert Pattinson will always be Edward Cullen in my heart.
Okay. But that's a positive thing for you.
I'm just kidding. I'm only joking because I had that realization, but I had that realization in 2020 or 2021 when I watched the Netflix film, the devil all the time. Did you see that?
No.
On Netflix?
No.
It was a movie that took place in the South. Tom Holland was the main kid in it. And then Robert Pattinson played a preacher. He played a Southern preacher. And it wasn't as visceral as this was because this is so fucking visceral. But that movie is a regular movie with like a plot and shit. So maybe it's a little easier of a watch. He plays the shit out of that Southern Baptist guy. And it is amazing. It's so good. And that was the moment I was like, because I heard about him doing all these indie films. Lieutenant. And I was like, I don't mind the guy. I like him, but I haven't seen him do anything that I was like, yes. And even watching the Batman, I didn't even think
I mean, there was
Controversial-
what are the
controversial
opportunities
take.
to act in that?
Controversial take. I'm not a big fan of the Batman. We can get into it if you want at a later point. but
Sure.
I'm not a big fan of that movie. I think it's fine.
Mhm.
But The Devil All the Time is where I was like, wow, this guy's a fucking actor. This guy's
Yeah.
acting the shit out of this film. And then now, obviously, I agree more.
Hey, this came before Devil All the Time, and
It did. I just didn't see it. Yeah.
it's true. But he was doing shit. Like you said, he was doing the indie scene. He was in several kind of little projects, and there was one Good Time. That's the one that I feel like that was the big one.
That was the first one.
Yeah.
That was the first indie darling. People were like, oh, people were paying attention to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't see it. But Marcus, we can't go on any further without talking about this movie. So we've been like playing around it, so this movie is about two wikis, right? Is that right? Wikis?
Yeah.
Two wikis, people who man a lighthouse in 1890. They stay there for a month, and then they're relieved of their duty as another set come, and
Mhm.
it's their month on duty. This movie is so weird.
Yeah, it is. It is a weird movie.
And there's two ways to talk about this movie. One is we can go chronologically and talk about it, and that would be the best way for the performances to talk about what's happening there. Or we could talk about crucial moments and jump around, which is probably the best way to talk about the themes. Which one would you rather do? They're both valid.
I feel like we can do a little both. We can talk about the plot for sure.
What a fucking Switzerland
No, well,
ass
let's-
act.
let's talk
That's
about
not what
the-
I'm
we can
fucking
talk about
looking
the
for.
plot.
Pick a lane.
Because the
Pick
plot,
a lane.
I feel like, is not that dense.
Pick a lane, boy. Spill your beans up in here.
The
That's not
plot
right.
is not really that dense, right? I feel like they imagine Lighthouse and they both go crazy. We did it. It's over. But
Okay, well, I'll do it really quick. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll do
yeah.
it really quick. So Robert Pattinson is a new wiki. Willem Dafoe, he's been there a long time. They go. Robert Pattinson does a lot of the grunge work, and then Wake, the older guy, is very much like, do this, do this, do this. And he also won't let him touch the lights of the lighthouse. And he's very like, don't touch my shit. And throughout the course of this movie, Robert Pattinson is slowly descending what seems to be into madness. You're not 100% sure what's happening, though, because of the way the film is made. And there are some crucial questions I have about it. But as this is happening, Robert Pattinson is obviously, it's getting to him the solidarity, the seclusion. And then one big part is he's not supposed to kill a bird. He kills a bird. Willem Dafoe says that makes the storm come. The storm comes. They're stuck there longer because their rescue doesn't come. And then during this even extended time, it becomes violent, and it becomes who's going to kill who kind of thing. And killing does happen by the end of this movie. And then it culminates into the death of both of them.
confrontation.
That's I guess
And that's the
plot. I guess
podcast,
that's
guys.
it.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Good job. We did it. We talked about the lighthouse. We did all the things.
There's a YouTube series. I mean, I want to respond to the plot a little bit, but there is a YouTube channel called Films Explained or something like that. And not once have I ever seen them explain a film. They just tell you the plot of the film beat by beat. And that is the whole YouTube channel. And it's hilarious to me that they use the word explained, but it's never explained.
Oh my goodness. My favorite thing is when you find a YouTube channel like that will explain the movie, and then to make sure that they're not just doing what you just described every 2 minutes out of a 16-minute thing. So they'll eight total, they'll insert one single joke. So it'll be like, and as Robert Pattinson is digging up this gin to save Willem Dafoe and to have something to drink, it's like they're trying to gin up something interesting happening in this movie, and they'll cut to a weird office meme.
Are you watching
And
Watch
then they'll
Mojo? What the fuck? It sounds like a Watch
No, but-
Mojo video.
Well, a lot of videos are like Watch Mojo.
That's
A lot
that's
of them
fair.
like that.
That is fair.
That's basically the plot of the film,
Yeah.
which is weird because as I was about to prepare to say it, I imagined there was a lot more to say, but then I guess that is all of it. It's just there's so many small moments of art and imagery and takeaway that it
Mhm.
seems like there's more to say, but the truth is not a lot happens. I guess.
I mean, it's not a
Yeah.
plot heavy film, but it is a thematically heavy film, and it is an imagery heavy film. So it's not like you're
Yes.
watching the movie and you're like, oh my God, you're really dragging this along. But if I feel like that's what I mean, where it feels like a play. There was that 4-hour Irish play. I forgot what it was called.
The one that was just on Broadway.
Yeah. We were just talking
Yeah,
about
I
it
remember
yesterday.
you saw it. Yeah.
And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was just You're looking in on this family's life during the specific time in Ireland. The Ferryman. Thank you. I always forget the name of it. But I absolutely loved it. It's one of my favorite plays I've ever seen. And it was 4 hours.
It's so funny. It's wildly long. It's so funny because I don't know who does or doesn't know that that listens to this podcast. We both come from the theater world. We both went to college for theater, so we've had script analysis classes. We've like torn apart script. We're very like we talk about mostly movies now, but we love theater. It's like the backbone of kind of like who we are at the end of everything. And as I was reading this wiki, a couple things that really jumped out at me is one, the director was talking about inspirations for the film. He was obviously talking about like it's kind of like a play, but he mentioned Beckett. And when he said Beckett, I was like, yes, Beckett, who very famously did like absurdist, weird, wacky shit. And it's like hard to like explain what it even is unless you like really. Yeah, they said there are wikis in the film. Is this a joke? Is it? Yeah, in the Lighthouse. Yeah. What are you talking about? Sorry, Old Man Ram is asking questions in the chat. I don't know what he's asking.
Finish your point.
Yes. God damn it. Old Man Ram, you distracted me from my point. It was such a great point. So Samuel Beckett, he mentioned Samuel Beckett in interviews, and Beckett's all about like this absurdist, this crazy things going on, and it like lined up in my head of like, yes, where it's like earlier when I was saying this feels like one step above our house. It also feels one step above weird New York City black box basement of somebody standing on stage saying, I am envy, and yelling in your face, right?
Yeah.
Like, and some people like just don't get it. And I was explaining this point to Lexi, and I think it really says it. After she watched the film with me, we were watching a video about it afterwards, and she was like, did you like this film, or are you pretending to like this film because you think you're supposed to? And I explain, it's like, no, thank you for painting me as an asshole, but no, I think there are two kinds of art. I think there is art made for people, and I think there's art made for artists. The art that is made for artists, it's anyone that does any kind of art can relate to it. So I had an ex-girlfriend that made classical kind of music. It was called New Age music. No one listens to that shit in the real world. Nobody. But in that realm of composition, everyone listened to it and they were obsessed about it. They were making it for them. Same thing happens for improv. There's so many improv shows that are for people to come and watch and have fun. But then there's so many improv shows that it's like the only people that would like this are improvisers. The same thing happens for movies. Same thing happens for paintings. The same thing happens to music. And that's what I think this film, that's what art house films are. This film isn't made for Joe Schmo's mom who watches Marvel films and soap operas. This film is for people who create this stuff. You know, this film is for people that have like an invested interest in the dissection and the understanding of where it all comes from. And I think that's where like that disconnect happens of she was like, do you really like this film, or you just want to be an asshole that likes these artsy films?
And I was like, you know, that question is warranted, right? Like I think that with a lot of things like this, there are a lot of people who will like say they like something for the sake of saying that they like it. There are a lot of people who like to create an image of themselves and say they like something because it fits their like aesthetic or personality more so than they actually give a shit about it.
That also very much happens.
Yeah. And so also I get her asking.
Yeah, but also it's hard because like even assholes, even people who completely define themselves with an aspect of something, like people that are just so obsessed with, I don't know, a punk music. So everything's punk and everything they love is punk. And it seems like it's like asshole. And it is because, you know, they need to branch out. But at the end of the day, like there's something about it that drew them in. And that's true. What?
Yeah.
What?
Liking punk music makes you an asshole. Liking one genre of music.
I'm saying, well, punk gets a bad rap because people who like punk divulge it and make it their whole entire personality. I thought that was a good example because that was one of the genres where, you know, people completely identify everything they have and everything they are.
There's a lot of, yes. Music is one of those things for sure that people who like specific genres will define themselves.
Yeah, but nobody makes fun of the people that like pop.
Yeah, they do. The punk people make fun of the people that like pop.
The punk people make fun of everyone because everyone's making fun of the punk people.
I don't know what world you're
a punk person. You felt attacked.
What world you're coming from, man?
I don't know what world
you're coming from. No, I don't listen to punk. I listen to everything. So I guess I'm the person you're describing of being the peak connoisseur of music.
What have I done? But to play off of the theater thing we're talking about, because I thought this was also a really interesting point, and this isn't even for the podcast, this is mostly for you. Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe were talking about the rehearsal process, and Robert Pattinson was talking about how he was dissecting the script and like really rehearsed and like really like, and he's a film actor. I think he's like studied film. I think he's an actor. But Willem Dafoe said it was a lot more spontaneity, and it was a lot about his devising theater days with the Wooster Group. And I didn't know it was a part of the Wooster Group. This is a very famous experimental devising theater company, probably one of the most famous. And I didn't know he was a part of that, which it like, as soon as I read that, I was like, that all makes so much sense of like how he approached it, how he acted in this film, and how he was able to bring something that you can talk about them now if you'd like. Willem Dafoe's performance in this is something that, and Robert Pattinson's great. He's so good. We could talk so much about how good, but Willem Dafoe is such a, I don't have words, because saying like tour de force or saying like a revelation, none of those feel like authentic enough, because what he was doing in this film is so unique and charismatic and interesting and special and different, and it's something only Willem Dafoe could do.
Yeah, it's one of those performances for me that I think is like defining for the actor. Like now, whenever I think of Willem Dafoe, I am immediately thinking about his performance in The Lighthouse, because of like how much he poured himself into the role, how perfect he was for the role, and just how like, I don't know, just how he did such a great job of portraying the character in a way that now forever, like this character is affiliated with Willem Dafoe in my mind.
Yeah, which is crazy, because Willem Dafoe has been given bop after bop his entire career.
He
like,
is
this
a
guy
fucking
is not a
great actor.
slouch.
He is a great actor.
We watched him be the villain in some shitty movie from the 70s that we watched because how we were obsessed with how this get made at the time, and we watched one of their movies together that they were about to do, something of fire,
Streets of Fire.
Streets of Fire, and it's a shitty movie. And but Willem Dafoe is still fucking badass.
He's great. Well, I think, God, I've watched so many Willem Dafoe interviews. I feel like more than any other actor I've ever watched. I have, because every time I watch him in something, I want to hear him talk about his like process and his role. And I am not an actor at all. I do not like it. It stresses me out. I do not ever want to act in my life if I can avoid it. I took an acting class in college, and that was it for me, buddy. I'm retired. But watching him is like inspiring. I feel like it is just like, he is so good at his craft. It's like watching someone who's good at something on YouTube, and you're just mesmerized by like someone making a sword or whatever it is. It's like every film he's in, I am mesmerized by him, and I love it. And so in watching the interviews, it's just, you can tell that he like really thinks about the roles, and that like I don't think he ever half-asses any role that he's in.
No.
Which you can't say about every actor.
Yeah.
And it feels like
even some of the greats.
Yeah. And a lot of actors too, who like, it's hard work and they're acting. A lot of actors, I feel like, are just playing a version of themselves over and over and over and over again. Like, no offense to Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks is great, but Tom Hanks is always Tom Hanks.
Yeah, usually.
For the most part, 90% of Tom Hanks movies, he's just Tom Hanks.
Yeah, and then the other 10%, he's being very specifically
not Tom
person,
Hanks.
a real life person.
yeah, and so it just kind of feels
like
Walt
Walt Disney. He's being Sully. He's being the great spy guy. They're all real people.
And so when I watch a lot of movies, it feels like I am not watching. It feels like they just cast someone who's close enough to the person they're portraying. And that's how they're going about the process of acting and becoming the role. But I feel like Willem Dafoe is like, he's fucking acting in every role he's in.
Yeah, Tazam in the chat just pointed out that, which I don't think I knew off the top of my head, Willem Dafoe is Gil in Finding Nemo. I had to Google who it is, and Gil is the fish with the scar that's like, never getting out of here, and we've been here for years. He's the leader of the Tank Gang. I'm like, wow, this guy's good.
Yeah.
This guy's good.
Yeah.
Willem
And
Dafoe's amazing.
but he's just one of those actors who I think really does a good job of fucking acting and bringing his all to the role and like making the characters unique. I can't all of the Willem Dafoe characters that he's ever portrayed, I can't say are the same vibe or the same kind of person.
No. And also, what actor do you take the supervillain mask off and he gets more scary?
That's a good point. Yeah.
In the original Spider-Man movies, dude was fucking Green Goblin. But in this latest one, they crushed the mask. He was scarier. He was scarier without the mask. He was he was more Green Goblin without a Green Goblin mask. I mean, this guy, talk about range.
Honestly, yes.
Tom Hanks is Otto, which is pretty non-Tom Hanks in A Man Called Ovo. I don't know what this movie is. What is this? Old Man Ram in the chat is defending his boy Tom Hanks.
Okay, let's see.
And I don't know what movie he's talking about. A Man Called Otto. It's newer. It's a Swedish comedy drama.
An isolated retiree who spends his days enforcing block association rules and visiting his wife's graves has finally given up on life. Oh, this is the racist old man movie?
Is he racist?
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe this isn't it.
Oh, it's not
the American version. Sorry. Yeah, he's just a racist old man. He's just playing a racist old man. It's still Tom Cruise, because in the end you're gonna love him. Tom Hanks. In the end you're gonna love him anyway, right? Like he's likable, is who Tom Cruise plays.
Well, wait, hold on. Old Man Ram, it's not out yet. Are you like revealing like your real life is like Tom Hanks' assistant and you've seen this movie, or are you using a movie you haven't seen as proof for your point? Because
he's using a movie he hasn't seen as proof.
Because your point just kind of fell apart there, man. I mean, I got your back, but but you're saying, well, that one movie that hasn't come out yet, huh? You've read the book, okay?
Maybe the Tom Hanks version is just the Tom Hanks. He just Tom Hanks it. We don't know how he performed. My point was specifically about him in every movie being Tom Hanks.
I'm gonna laugh so hard, Old Man Ram. Honestly, we should probably do it on the podcast. We're gonna watch this film, and Tom Hanks is still Tom Hanks, even when he's being this racist old man. I'm gonna laugh because egg is gonna be on your face, and that's very funny to me. But you could be right. Honestly, now I'm excited to watch this movie. I love a good Tom Hanks.
Okay. Also, not to hey, Old Man Ram, you know we love you, we appreciate you so much, but not to shit on you. But you saying it's a pretty he's playing an old white man. He's an old white man. Like, well, how is that a non-Tom Hanks role?
Did I shit on our fan a little bit, and then you said no offense and shout out him more? Oh man,
I'm just saying. Look, Old Man Ram, we love you.
Also, the tagline on the cover of this movie trailer is "Fall in love with the grumpiest man in America." You're gonna fall in love with him because he's Tom Hanks.
Sorry, Old Man Ram, we love you. It's with love.
All the best. I'm gonna watch this movie just. Tom Hanks isn't Trump though. Nobody's Trump. That's true. Nobody can be Trump. We're gonna watch this movie and we're gonna get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
But it's autocorrect. You were trying to say Tom Hanks isn't grumpy though. Oh, I understand. I've seen Tom Hanks be grumpy.
Hey,
he's a grumpy old man.
He raised Chet Hanks. He must be grumpy at some point. Like, you got to be grumpy about that.
I just recently watched some clips from Captain Phillips, and he's kind of grumpy. He's kind of a grumpy old man. He's an old white man.
Speaking of grumpy old white men, back to Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe. Listen, Willem Dafoe, fantastic. Forrest Gump is the one example where he was doing something else.
He was making a joke, and it was a good joke.
That went over my head. Mm-hmm. Oh man.
Thank you, T, for the joke.
Oh,
you ruined it.
You want to delete it? To say it out loud. I'll do it.
Okay,
redo it. Pick up. Forrest Grump, LOL, good ones is nice joke in the chat. Guys, join us at twitch.tv/nowtrythiscast
to join in on the comedy.
And it's not fair if we just talk about Willem Dafoe. So let's also talk about Robert Pattinson, because he's also so good. Because it's funny, it must be so intimidating acting next to someone like Willem Dafoe, but it works in this movie because he's almost like looking at him like an elder, he's got the answers, but he also doesn't agree with him. So it's got this like dynamic that's really interesting and wicked. And Robert Pattinson is really good.
He does an incredible job. I feel like he sells it. He kind of like amplifies Willem Dafoe's performance. And I feel like they play off each other really well. Again, it has that theatrical feel. We are theater people. It feels like we are watching a play where these are the only two people in the whole fucking movie.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, unless you count the mermaid and the two guys walking off in the beginning. But
some people do.
These are the only two speaking roles in the movie, and they really like have to be scene partners, and they have to play off one another, and they have to give and they have to take. And it feels like all the shitty, cheesy shit that they talk about in acting class, it's like you see it here.
Yeah, and if you don't do that and make the groundwork, you wouldn't have these really, really intense homoerotic moments between Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson.
Let's talk
because this movie is fucking horny. This movie is so much hornier than I thought it was. I was watching this movie and I was like, great, it's gonna be gritty, it's gonna be dark, and there's gonna be like emotions, and then like a little bit of the horniness came in. I was like, oh, I get it. They're old like sailors out on a fucking lighthouse. They're fucking horny, and then the movie just got hornier and hornier and hornier all the way until the end. We got fucking like attacked by a tentacle monster, and I was like, wow, this movie literally couldn't get hornier if it wanted to.
Yeah, it's a very horny movie. Look, you get two men alone for long enough, they're gonna kiss or kill each other. That's it. Okay,
or both. Let's move. One of my favorite parts of this movie was the moment when they're having this back and forth. They're getting drunk. They're like sharing with each other. It ends up like doing this slow dance because they're like sea shanties, and it's like big, and then it's small, and they're like doing slow dance, and then they like almost kiss.
I love that moment.
They all, but no, it's not even the almost kiss that's my favorite part. They almost kiss, and then they like push each other away, and then they literally put up their fisticuffs and start fighting. And I was like, wow, I need every manly man dude that like I have a good friend that would do this, would just like tussle after a night out, or after a big talk would like wrestle, or I've seen it happen. I've witnessed it. And I'm like, they need to see this because this is what it means. They want to fuck. They want to fuck bad.
Yeah, it feels like a commentary on masculinity for sure.
Yeah.
Like the fact that these two men are alone. They are trying to be vulnerable with one another. And with vulnerability comes a level of intimacy. And if you're not used to being vulnerable, like it sometimes you can kind of confuse the two, and then immediately feel like you need to defend yourself and do something manly to, contend to make up for all of the unmanly things you did by being vulnerable, when being vulnerable is actually very manly.
It's funny because it felt like it was doing two things at once, right? It felt like it was doing that, but it also felt like a commentary on how intimacy and sex and eroticism is violent, right? It almost like these intense feelings of intimacy and love and attraction. And there's literally a point where like he calls him pretty.
Yeah.
Where it's like all those intense things are also violent sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're like intense feelings that are like literally like pushing and shoving and like
it can come from the same place too. I feel like there's also the moment where Robert Pattinson is standing over Willem Dafoe and he's like, bark like a dog, and he's like holding his dick while he's saying that, and there is an amount of like submission that he is forcing on Willem Dafoe, and that is very sexual.
In the movie it flips it, and Robert Pattinson pulls along Willem Dafoe like a dog, switching that role. Like the whole culmination of the movie, I feel like, is that building up of that tension and that dynamic of one having power over the other in an intimate, sexual, violent kind of way. And then the movie is like, I think that's kind of like what the movie is, where it's like, and then Robert Pattinson's like, I've had enough, and tries to invert it and have the power on top, and he does to Willem Dafoe what was done to him, right?
It is definitely like about power too, right? Because I feel like so many, what you're taught as men is that you're supposed to have power and control and all this stuff, and you get two men together and they're like, wait, which one of us is in charge here? Not all the time, but like, that's what this movie at least is I feel like trying to convey.
Sure. I mean, sometimes it'll happen with us in our friend group. If there's like 6 men in a room, and we all think we're a little in charge. Like it happens all over, even with like nice people, even with like non toxic masculinity people. There's just a level. I mean, it happens with all people, but I feel like there is something intrinsically different about when you have a dick about it. It feels like
Yeah.
you need to put it somewhere. I don't know.
I feel like there is an amount of like, I don't know.
Some of it's expected. Some of it's taught.
Yes,
some
a lot
of
it's
there's
taught.
so many layers.
A lot
to
of
it.
it's taught, and unfortunate, and that's unfortunate. And that's part of toxic masculinity and all that stuff, right? Like,
Exactly.
you don't need to be in control of everything all the time. Just
You
because you're listening to someone, and respecting them doesn't mean that you are like submitting to them.
Yeah, but we've all had some bad father figure say, "Just get in there and buck up, butto." Right? You had that, right? Like somebody called you a butto. And
Yeah,
they told you to
butto,
buck
buddy,
up.
champ.
Yeah, great. I really like that. But here's like my big takeaway from the movie, and I want to know how you feel about it, because I know you love this movie. You bought the VHS. You're like, really like it. Even if you can't watch it all in one sitting, I think you really, really enjoy this movie. There are moments of this film that I think are so like, there it is, right next to The Shining. Hell yeah. There is, I think, an argument to be said where this movie's indulgence does get in its way a little bit, because there's moments narratively, plot-wise, that I think are like really, really good and pretty. Like, for example, when Robert Pattinson wants to steal his keys and takes the shiv and goes up to Willem Dafoe in his sleep and he's about to kill him, that whole exchange, the tension, the way he acts when he comes up, the exchange that happens, the dialogue, it's all so good. It's like a great moment. And this film is filled with great moments. But those great moments are filled in an artsy fartsy art house movie. Do you think that if this movie pared down a little bit on imagery and focused on narrative, that it could have been like an easier pill to swallow, but still accomplish the same things?
I don't think so. I disagree. I don't think so at all. I feel like you can accomplish the same things in other ways for sure. Other movies have done it in a more conventional fashion, but I feel like the imagery of it, I feel like lends to the overarching themes, and I think it lends to the narrative in a lot of ways that I think are interesting, right? Like, for example, there's one scene where Willem Dafoe grabs Robert Pattinson, and like they show he's naked, and there's like light shining from his eyes onto Robert Pattinson. Like that was like beautiful, powerful imagery. And then you like, you find out that it's based on the painting Hypnosis by Sascha Schneider, a gay German painter in 1904. And that's like adds to another layer to this sort of like homoerotic underlying of the story as well. So I feel like, yes, you could say a lot of this without all of the imagery and a lot of the sort of art house feel, but I feel like all of that lends itself to the narrative. And I feel like you can't make every movie for everybody. And
I think like
parts of it, you're right. Like parts of it, do distract and take you out of it a little bit. But I feel like this feels like I said, keep saying, this feels like a play. And narratively, I think it also is there, because now no action is happening. Yes, we are getting imagery, but they're stuck in a lighthouse together. And for the most part, all we have in terms of the storytelling is the conversations and the imagery. And I think that narratively, the dialogue is incredible. I feel like you get a lot from it too.
Yeah, a couple things to play off of what you said. I think you're ultimately right, because one of the reasons Beckett, I think, is probably a inspiration for this film, and one of his rationales for stuff is like, the reason you do absurd things is you don't want people to fall asleep in your play / movie, right? You don't want them to be completely whisked away to a whole new world where they completely forget all of their own problems and feelings, because the auteur, in this case the director, wants you to be taken out for that second so you can be reflexive. If this movie was cleaner, if the movie was cleaner, if it was narratively simpler, if it was straightforward and just a narrative, then those moments of reflection don't happen. You get whisked away to this world, you watch this movie, the movie's done, and you're like, wow, what a great movie. But
Yeah.
because this movie is happening, you're meant to stop watching it. You're meant to stop being engulfed in it and reflect. And
Yeah.
that's like something I don't think a lot of people get. I think that's something that we were taught to understand, but I don't know what it's like to be in a world where I haven't been taught to understand that. So I totally see why other people
Yeah.
probably don't like this
I
film
get it.
and why it has a 90% critics and a 70% audience.
I
Like
get it.
I
Yeah.
totally understand.
Yeah,
that.
there's just a disconnect.
Yeah.
There's a barrier to entry sometimes with stuff like this, where people feel
Yeah.
like it's not for me. But that's not true.
Yeah.
It is for everyone, but it does require the extra step. Like you said, it requires you to take a moment and reflect on like what you watched and why
And
you
people
were
aren't used to
seeing
that.
things
People
and why
really aren't used to
the
that.
director was making choices. Yeah, people aren't used to it. But I think
And some people actively like it,
yeah,
right?
that's true.
Some people actively don't like
Yeah,
going back in,
yeah.
right?
But I feel like, that's the difference between a movie staying with you forever and a movie just being another movie that you watch and forget about.
Yeah.
I'm going
Lexi
to
made a
remember this
point
movie
that-
forever.
Yeah, Alexi made a point that I think is my only pushback to like my initial point, my only like argument towards my initial point, my own initial question is because this is an auteur art house kind of film, it felt like it was made on its own terms, but then it felt like it was longer to be a theatrical film where Lexi was like, I just don't understand why the movie couldn't have been an hour. And I was like, you know what? Arguably, I think maybe it could have been an hour.
How long was the movie?
But if it's an hour and 40 minutes, 149, I didn't count the credits, but it's like, but you don't make movies that are an hour. You can't distribute them, you can't put them in theaters, you can't do
Yeah.
anything with them. So
Yeah.
they have to be an hour and a half, or they're a short film that's 20 minutes, right? Maybe
Yeah.
30.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing that I was like, you know what? I think I don't think this is a perfect movie. I
Okay.
think they made the
Fair enough.
movie they set out to make
Yeah.
100%. I do. That was the only little inkling of like, oh, you know what? I think the movie is the length that it is because it could be a theatrical released movie.
Yeah.
Whereas I think this movie could have been a little more successful at an hour.
Yeah. I feel like
Which feels to me like, it feels
No.
to me like an older film. Like it already looks like an older film. It's already filmed like an older film. Older films could have been an hour. And I'm talking like pre-Hitchcock days, like old movies. They were able to be an hour. Now, if your movie's not at least 90 minutes, it can't go in theaters. It just literally can't. That's the business. So that was the only thing I was like, oh, this movie should have been an hour.
I
all.
don't think I would have cut 50 minutes from this movie.
There's 50 minutes you can cut from them.
I
There's a lot
feel
of
like
repeating stuff.
if you want to make it a highly efficient, fast-paced movie, sure.
I always want an efficient movie. I never want an
that's not
efficient movie.
true. This how
Name
long was
one.
RRR?
Name one. What?
How long was RRR?
You needed all 3 of those hours, buddy. All 3 of those hours completely necessary for the narrative that movie set out to make.
I'm just saying.
There was about 45 minutes of fluff in that movie that could have
Okay, yeah. So, but that's what I'm saying. So, like, I get it. You can cut down movies.
That's an argument I always
you can
make,
make
though.
them
Yeah.
more efficient. I totally get it. I'm on a similar page. I feel like 15 minutes of this movie I probably could have cut, but
Yeah.
I think 50.
And then you might as well cut another 15.
No,
And then
no. I enjoyed a lot of the imagery. This movie too. It's funny
So did
that we're talking about it, but like, it's one of the reasons I love doing the podcast, right? Like, I also don't think this is a perfect film, but
Yeah.
that's like, I just gave it to you because I enjoyed it, and that is like the whole
Sure.
shtick, which is so great,
Yeah.
guys. Join our Patreon. You love us, right? Make sure you're following us. So you keep doing
Marcus just
this.
had a realization that he just really likes doing this and he just wants
I
to
just
continue
like doing
it.
the podcast.
One other thing that you mentioned in passing, because you said a lot of things, is you mentioned in passing the dialogue. I do want to talk about the dialogue because I think I did turn on. So my experience watching this movie is funny because, like you, I think I need to watch it again 100% because I watched it today between jobs. I'm tired. I was having to keep myself awake. And I had to turn on the subtitles because I just didn't have it in me to sit down and really watch this movie the way I should have. But because I had the subtitles on, I got to like read and see the dialogue happening here. And the dialogue is verbose and dense, and it feels poetic and meaningful. It feels like
Shakespearean
there's something
or
that
something.
people didn't. What?
Shakespearean.
Oh, not quite. Not quite, ma'am. It's none of those. I've studied theater, but I don't have enough theater knowledge to really explain what this dialogue is, because this dialogue is something very specific. But it is poetic, and it is like meaningful. It has like a sing-songiness to it, especially when Willem Dafoe is delivering
Mhm.
it. You
Yeah.
know, and I'm not just talking about when he's like delivering like a poem. Just when he's talking, it's like poetically sing-songy, like a sea shanty, like a sailor, and like it's almost like hypnotic the way it is as I'm like listening to it and reading it. Like I really think I really might read the script of this film,
Wow.
because in a script analysis sense of this dialogue, I think it's going to teach me something, because it is very good. It is very, very good. The word choice and placement and is just, I don't have the words for it. It's very good.
Yeah. I would agree with you entirely if I were not distracted wholeheartedly by the fact that you just said you don't watch movies with subtitles on. Like, that is fucking insane to me that you watch movies without subtitles.
Because you're a subtitles boy.
Why? Yeah, of course, like a fucking sane human being. You watched a movie.
Listen.
I watched every single movie with subtitles, because you miss stuff if you don't watch with
Can I be honest?
subtitles.
Can I be super duper honest?
Uh-huh.
What I said about like wanting to experience this movie the way I should experience is what I meant to say is like, I wish I saw this in theater, right?
Mhm.
Uninterrupted, not tired, no subtitles, like experiencing in that way. The truth is, I am a subtitled boy, but I love my girlfriend more. And this is one of the battles I lost, and I'm really upset about it. I think you should watch movies with subtitles. Maybe not TV.
I agree.
Maybe not like some TV things, maybe not some comedies, but overall, the meter goes towards watching shit with subtitles.
Yes.
Because
I
you
agree.
just don't miss it. And I have trained myself where I'm not missing shit as I'm reading the subtitles.
Exactly. Yeah.
You read it in your peripheral. And the way you go,
Exactly.
maybe it's reading comics growing up, maybe
Mhm.
it's watching anime. I don't know. But I
Anime.
am a
It's the
subtitle boy.
anime, for sure.
Probably.
Yeah.
But I can no longer be a subtitle boy, and I'm heartbroken about it. But I love my girlfriend more.
Wow. The dedication.
hard.
Giving up subtitles
fucking
for someone. I don't know if I could do it, Darren. I'm glad we're on the same page.
Honestly, Marcus, there's always like little things in your relationship that you like give up silently.
Of
But I'm glad
course.
I'm now like able to outwardly explain like how much of a gut wrenching like heartbreak it is that I like no longer get to experience media in this way.
Yeah.
Because it is honestly a little heartbreaking.
Yeah. I get that.
Everything's a little worse.
Yeah.
Everything's a little worse.
I love subtitles so much, but also like if I'm being honest, not every single movie in the world I need it, especially if it's a movie like a junky action movie that I'm gonna be on my phone most of the time anyway. Like, well, who cares? But Darren especially really needs it for every movie, and so I've been like, okay, I like them. You
always
need
err on
them,
that side,
so we're
so
always
fine.
gonna have them. Yeah.
100%. I totally agree. But that's not the life I live now.
That's okay.
I'm on
You
the other
are at
side.
least redeemed in my book. Lexi, on the
Okay.
other hand, oof.
Straight trash.
No,
Her viewing of movies
didn't
is
say
straight
that.
trash.
Oh, her viewing movie, yes. Lexi's
Yeah,
a wonderful, incredible person.
Her preferred way of watching media is trash. Straight trash. But gosh, this movie was so fucking wild. There's one moment that I need to talk to you about, because I don't know how I feel about it, and the way your version of what it is might completely influence and change my perception of this entire movie.
Oh, that's no
So-
pressure at all.
Yeah. So this movie is clearly about two wikis. Some level of descent into madness is going on. And to my recollection, this only happens one time in the movie, where Robert Pattinson's character is upset, wants to leave. So he goes and gets a rowboat to leave. Then Willem Dafoe's character doesn't want him to leave and goes and destroys the rowboat with an axe. And then they come back into the house and they start arguing. And then Willem Dafoe's demeanor completely changes. and with all sincerity, he says, "You're going crazy. Why else would you destroy the lifeboat with the axe?" So is that moment, and this is very important, is that
God.
moment Willem Dafoe fucking with our main character even more, perpetuating that narrative of him wanting him to go crazy so he can kill him like his partner? Or is that the one moment of clarity in the movie where our whole perception of the movie was from Robert Pattinson's point of view, and he legit is going crazy, he is a drunk, he is doing a bad job, and especially because we're seeing all these imagery things he's saying anyway, so we already know he's somewhat mad. That was just our only moment of seeing Willem Dafoe as he actually is, as a compassionate person, looking at his second, watching him go crazy. Which one is it?
I don't think that there is an answer necessarily.
Is that on purpose? Am I supposed to
I
not
think
know? Like
so.
that
Yeah,
moment
yeah.
is that?
I think that Robert Eggers, at least in interviews for this film, you know,
Yeah.
a lot of people are like, what's the film about? What's this? Are they gay? Stuff like that. Like, and I feel like
Yeah.
every time he's just kind of like, well, like, look, you know, the questions are there, but the questions are always there in human interactions.
I
that we
respect that
have.
so fucking much, because then you get people like, who was the guy who directed Mother? And then when he fucking directed the movie, he
I
just
hate that
fucking
guy.
told
He sucks.
everyone what it was
Is
about.
it
What is
Darren
it? What's it?
Aronofsky or something?
Yes, and all he did, he literally during the premiere of that movie gave people like 3 paragraphs about what the movie was about with all the answers. There's a true story. He really did that. At the premiere and the press screenings, he literally printed shit out, gave it to the people and says, "This is what the movie is about."
I hate that.
So you're not confused when you're
I
watching it.
hate that. I hate that. But
Wild.
that's what it is. So like you know, like he's like there's like imagery in there, there's questions, but
Yeah.
I feel like he doesn't necessarily want to give answers to them. And I
Yeah,
respect the shit out of that.
that makes me like it so much more,
Yeah.
because that moment when that happened, that was another moment when I had to read the wiki again. It's like, did I just hear right? Because that just changes the entire film.
Yeah.
That changes everything. And like, usually I'm okay at like deciding whether or not I think the top fell or the top did not fall, the spinning top did not fall or
Mhm.
did fall. And I'm like, I know what I think, and I think everyone else is a dumbass.
Okay,
And I was,
well,
like reading too much into this. You know, I truly feel like that. Like I feel
Okay.
like that in that film, you know why that pisses me off? You know why Inception pisses me off? I like Inception. I am one of the bros that be like, I think it's a great film. It's a great movie.
Mhm.
But the ending does piss me off, because when that moment happens and the top is spinning and you're left with that question, if he's still in a dream or not, the director clearly doesn't have an answer, and he put it there just to fuck with me. I think Robert Eggers has an answer. I think he has a clear take, a clear vision of what he set out to do with this movie, and he's not telling me.
Yeah.
That's so different than someone being like, is the top spinning or is it not spinning? Artsy.
Yeah, I do respect them putting, like Robert Eggers at least, putting imagery into the film and suggesting themes of stuff, but not blatantly hitting us over the head and telling us stuff. Now, to interrupt myself, there is one scene specifically that I thought was a little on the nose, where he is masturbating and you see the lighthouse image go from this to like erect, and you're like, okay, like, come on. It's something called subtlety, okay?
I think there's always a little bit of me that actually doesn't like when a movie, when they do imagery, just cuts to a shot and another shot and then cuts back to the movie. I was like, no, I'm really cool with imagery being like, I don't know, as Robert Pattinson is fucking this mermaid, and as they're laying there, they look like a lighthouse, like whatever. I'm cool with all those kinds. Or the fact that he's even having sex with a mermaid, and it's this whole shot, and it's like he's not actually doing that, but that's his perception as he's looking at the wooden carving, or that's also more descent into whatever. I love that, all that imagery. But when you just like cut to a picture of the lighthouse and then cut to another picture and then cut back, I'm like, that's stupid. I can do that. I can edit like that.
Yeah,
that's dumb. Editors for this podcast, insert some pictures right here of some other shit. Ooh, look at the lighthouse.
Whoa.
Me, I'm talking to myself.
Okay,
I'll
good.
insert a picture of a lighthouse right there. To prove
Perfect.
my point.
I love it.
Nice.
Imagery. Oh, fuck, I had a point.
What do you think of the moment? What do you think of the moment? Do you have a take? I know we're not supposed to, like, I know there's not an answer, but like, as you're viewing the film, are you like, this is, he's clearly crazy and this is all in his head and
No,
none of it,
I
or
I
do you
like
think
the
Willem Dafoe was
ambiguity.
out to get him?
I like the ambiguity, right? I feel like there,
No, I don't accept
I
that
don't
answer.
want to
That's
have a
not good
take
enough.
because, right, like like
Damn
you said, you have one take of like, oh, he's gaslighting Robert Pattinson, and he's just like,
Yeah.
manipulating him into think he's crazy just so he can then have an excuse to murder him, right? Like
Yeah.
that's interesting. But then you also have the like, is Robert Pattinson just going mad? I don't know, and I think that having an answer or a gut feeling, I think doesn't help me view the movie anymore, right? Because I like viewing it from both sides. So I can have
Sure.
one viewing where I'm like, oh, I'm on this side. I have another viewing where, oh, I'm on this side. But if I choose a side, then every viewing, I'm just going to look for things that like lend itself to being evidence towards my belief. And I don't want to view it that way.
I suppose so. My thing's a little different though, because for me, I was viewing the movie. I think the intention was to make it seem like he was gaslighting him, and then when that moment happened, it's to make you wonder whether or not he's
Sure.
actually just going
But
mad,
you
right?
asked me to have a
and I-
take, and I'm saying
Right,
going
right, right.
forward, I'm just not going to have a take.
I'm just saying that as a preemptive to explain my take. So
Oh,
my
okay.
take is, I felt that way up to that point that I was gaslighting him. For me, it feels more interesting to me when I watch this film now, especially when I rewatch it, because now I get to rewatch it from that new perception of it's all in his head, right? So that's like where I'm standing with it now.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel
interesting.
like every time I view it, it's going to be different, right? Because now
Yeah.
when I view it back, I'm going to watch it as if he's going crazy. And then when that moment happens, I'm probably going to like switch again and be like, oh, he's fucking with them.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like this movie's doing this cool thing where every time I watch it, I'm going to like flip flop back and forth,
Yeah.
which is actually pretty cool because every time I watch it, it's going to be different.
That's interesting because at the first, you're saying that the whole movie you thought he was being gaslit, and then at the end you're like, oh, Robert Pattinson's crazy. For me,
Yeah.
my first viewing, the whole movie I thought Robert Pattinson was crazy, and then I was like, oh, but maybe he's not.
Oh,
I don't know.
How funny. How fun that we
Yeah.
both like bloop, bloop. It's
Yeah.
also really cool that that's a switching point in the movie too,
Mhm,
right?
for
Like
sure.
I think it's a well-crafted thing. Like that clearly the script is very painstaking. Like that's a very clear intention of the movie
Yes.
to have this switch moment.
Yeah. None of this
Darren
movie-
feels like both are true.
Yeah.
That's not a take. You lose, Darren. Have a take.
None of this
Have a
movie,
goddamn take. Put it on a shirt. Have a take.
none of this movie feels like an accident, which I love. There are so
A
many
lot of
films
movies
I've
do.
watched where I'm like, ooh, you got that shot by accident. You didn't know that was a good shot. You noticed in the edit that was a good shot, but you didn't know when
Yeah.
you were doing it.
Yeah, this movie was not made in the edit bay,
Yeah.
right? This
Yeah,
movie
yeah.
was a painstakingly
Exactly.
this shot.
Yeah.
This is the point.
Because they also used a lot of film techniques, right? Like what is it called? Orthochromatic filming.
Yes.
So that filters out all the red light. So they had to like use a lot of bright lights to film the movie. And
Yeah.
just because of all of the like painstaking effort that went into stylizing the film, you'd have to have everything planned out. And I think that
Yeah.
really shows and and lends itself
I
to
also want you to
movie
know
feeling
when
full.
I searched for a captain's hat today for my mustache. I
Uh-huh.
also was trying to figure out how to make my computer black and white for the podcast, but my fucking webcam plugin completely crashed on me and I couldn't do it.
I'm
very upset
sorry
about
about that. I'm
Like
sorry
how
about
cool would it
that.
have been if I came in here with a captain hat and it was black and white.
That would have been pretty cool, actually. Yeah.
You know, fucking hindsighters, what are you gonna do?
But there's also a lot of just imagery and all that stuff, but there's also a lot of like mythology, and I feel like with
Yeah.
the mermaid and stuff like that, a lot of like
And he said
sea
Triton
lore.
and Prometheus and Titan and all that shit.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
I feel like is really cool that they use that too.
Yeah, it's funny because when I was reading the wiki, it sounds like the initial idea came from an Edward Cullen Poe story that never got finished. It was like one of the last story he was writing and he never finished it because he died.
Mhm.
And that was where the inspiration, it was called The Lighthouse. That was where the inspiration of the idea came from. But the story didn't really open up until two things happened. It looks like there's this old Swedish, I think, myth about 2 wikis like dying out in a lighthouse,
Uh-huh.
and also when Robert Eggers looked into the mythology and looked into like ocean
Oh, yeah.
lore. So like it's clear that all 3 of those things like and I love that when a story is like you can see its etymology, like where it all comes from.
Yes.
Super interesting,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, the
And it's
Prometheus
funny because
thing,
it feels like an
just-
Edgar Allan Poe thing, right?
Yeah.
This is very Telltale Heart. This is
Mhm.
very fucking The Raven.
Yeah.
And it's really got that feel, and I love
Yeah.
it about it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was talking about, like that poetic, like it's Edgar Allan Poe. Like that's how he
Mhm.
writes, right? He writes his stories poetically, but it's in like it's just in dialogue, it's just in regular dialogue, but the way he writes it sounds like poetically grim and fucking, I don't know. How do you describe Edgar Allan Poe? Like it's just Edgar Allan Poe. Like
Darren, English
don't know.
major.
like,
Tell
how
us
do you
in the chat.
describe the thing that I'm talking about? Like the way he's writes is like this weird poetically, like I don't know. Edgar Allan Poe's a very good writer. I like his writing.
Yep. Yeah. No, I agree. I just also like I didn't make the connection until you said it, but the Prometheus, right? Stole fire, stole the light at the end of the film. He
Yep.
touches the light and then he's being eaten by seagulls. Prometheus was punished by having his skin, or he was eaten by ravens or whatever.
Yeah. Daron just said free verse. I don't know. I think it's just a style he's got.
He's got style.
Like it's kind of true. Like Edgar Allan Poe is such an icon in terms of like writing. Like when you write like Edgar Allan Poe, you're writing like Edgar Allan Poe. It's not like you're writing in a thing. But that's how this movie felt, and I really, really love that kind of panter. That like pitter patter to the words.
The cadence. Yeah.
It just I don't know. I just really liked it. Let me fucking
maybe
study
let's
up. Let me go to college for a
give
couple
Robert
years.
Eggers some credit. Did he write this? It says
his
directed and
brother.
produced. Okay, yeah. So look, Robert Eggers, right? Maybe it's
And Max, his
Agarian.
brother.
Look, we got us. Everyone is inspired by this and that, and when we have someone who like creates good work, it's like this or Shakespearean or it's whatever. Why not allow these people to create and be the source of inspiration for others going forward? Agarian. We have Lynchian, right? That's a terminology for David Lynch inspired content.
Yeah.
Agarian.
Hitchcockian.
Lovecraftian. Egarian.
I'm excited for the day that Egarian will grace our podcast. Robert Eggers, please come on the podcast and talk about how you just created a style, Egarian.
You know who's never going to have that? Aronofsky. He's not going to have that because he's bad at making movies.
Yeah, but it's a bad thing. It is a style, but it's a
bad style.
It's a derogatory statement to say it.
This film is very Aronofsky, and by that I mean
it's trash.
And by that I mean
Trash.
it was trash. And before I watched it, I was handed an essay on what the film was about.
I can't believe he did that. That story is always one of the wildest to me. Like how fucking up your own ass. Yeah, I just to get to like the end of my points. I just loved how like the little things, like when Willem Dafoe was like complaining about how he spilled the beans when Robert Pattinson like told about how he let his boss die and stole his identity.
Yeah.
And like there's all these like little moments where it's just like really interesting and like intentional but like bizarre and really eye-opening to make you like think about who you are and what they are, and it's really cool.
Yeah, there's really intimate, intense moments that I think work really well and I think lend itself to, the development of the relationships and the dynamic between these two characters. And I love it.
Yeah. Question. Because this is another moment I had to look at the wiki because I didn't know what was happening. Did you think they were just straight up drinking lantern oil?
I thought they were drinking gas or oil, yeah.
Because apparently they were drinking a concoction of turpentine and honey.
Gas and honey. You see him mix the honey in it.
I know, but the way the wiki says it right there makes it sound like it's a thing. And I thought they were just going crazy, but then reading it that way made me think it's like this is a thing that has happened before.
I mean, like... Let's see, turpentine and honey.
I don't know. The first thing that comes up is Tiffany Haddish apparently drinks turpentine.
What?
Which, let's see. Taking turpentine oil by mouth can be dangerous. Despite this, some people take turpentine oil mixed with honey or sugar cubes for stomach and intestinal infections.
yeah, no, that's not good. It doesn't look like it's good, but it does look like it's a thing people have done in the
Can
past.
I get drunk and fucked up on turpentine? What happens if you drink turpentine? One whiff won't kill you. This person says, I've tried a third of a teaspoon. No particular effects of any kind, but I did feel a bit more clear-headed.
I think historically people have drank turpentine.
I'm not seeing that really. Like it felt like an old-timey thing that people would do when they didn't have alcohol, but I'm not like seeing that. I don't know. That moment was just bizarre to me. Can you really make booze out of paint thinner?
Okay, this
I don't
is
know.
derailing.
Whatever. Anyway, drinking turpentine.
Oh my
history.
god!
Hold on.
No,
Turpentine.
Stop it.
Now understood. Turpentine, now understood to be dangerous for consumption, was a common medicine among seamen during the age of discovery.
There you go. We got it.
Oh, that's Magellan. That's a long
But
time
you know
ago.
what? That's probably where the research came from.
You want me to get off this so bad?
I
but
do.
I want to know more.
Like that one
while
while you're looking up turpentine, I guess. Like that one author who not recently, I guess it was like a few months ago, got in trouble because he copy pasted the recipe for making dye from Breath of the Wild into his book that he was like, "Oh, I did historical research on it." And it was actually just the Breath of the Wild recipe from the game that included fictional items to make dye.
Whoa. That's crazy.
Yeah. And he
not as
published
crazy
it.
as drinking turpentine, though.
No, that's crazy.
All that says to me is anybody can publish anything. We've had contemporaries like publish stuff, and they're not as good as us.
Name them
putting in shit.
specifically.
I don't want you here on the podcast. That would be a very rude thing to do. But it makes me think, I don't know, when's the Now Try This book coming out?
Wow, a
Ooh,
tell-all.
That would be interesting. That's not what I thought it would be more about.
A tell
I thought
some.
it would more be like I think there could be some of that in there, but like a dissection and like what our life and experience has been like, trying new things about going through this process. I don't know. I feel like I could write a couple chapters at least about that.
Sure. But who would read it? Old Man Rom would. Thank you, Old Man Rom. You're the best.
You never give a chance to say it. You're just speaking for him. Yes, Old Man Rom, you would be legally obligated to buy her
legally
a book.
Obligated. I mean, I would mail him a free copy.
No, then no one will ever buy it. He's our only chance that someone might buy it. Like, I don't even think Lexi would buy it at that point.
I'd give him a free autographed copy.
Oh, and then I would ask him to buy my copy if he wants my autograph.
Yeah, you have to.
Marcus,
the book comes with my autograph. You have to pay for Nick's autograph.
Yeah, that it is. There it is. That's smart because you're giving. It seems like you're giving them something for free, but no one wants like half a complete set.
That's true. That like Taylor Swift with selling 4 vinyl albums that you have to buy all 4 to make the image or whatever.
That's the thing.
Yeah, she just did that. Look, I get my information about Taylor Swift from Daron, so I could be wrong.
Taylor,
but I believe
Swift,
Daron.
Vinyl cover connected. Oh, controversy. Hold on. Oh, that's the Masters controversy. That's not what I want.
Each one is a 1/4 of a clock. There you go. Thank you.
1/4 of clock. All right, let's look at this. Oh, honestly, I kind of like it.
That's how they get you.
It's Midnight's. It's the newest one. 4 album covers. I see. Okay, but I don't understand. Do I have to buy 4?
No, it's the same one 4 times.
I'm sorry.
That's the problem.
So this is like
the problem.
If Harry Potter came out, but in the circulation of Harry Potter, there were 4 different covers, and you had to buy all 4 to put them together.
Yes.
Can I be super honest?
Yeah.
Genius. Fucking genius. That is like next level god tier brain. Because if you don't buy them, no big deal. You got Taylor Swift with a couple numbers on it, whatever. But like for the diehards, you just get their money times 4.
Capitalism.
She's
queen.
A capitalism queen for sure. Yep. Yes, she is. And honestly, I respect. And then you have to separately buy the Taylor Swift clock thing to turn it into a clock.
I hate that. I hate everything about that. I hate everything about that.
You can buy it. So how much do you think is the attachment to the albums to turn into a clock? How much do you think?
$20.
$49.
Guys, and for $5 a month, you can join the Patreon and influence the podcast instead of having 4 of the same album.
God. Well, hold on. How much is the album?
Why are we doing this?
You brought it up.
It's like 11 o'clock. I
important.
want to go to bed.
No.
I'm being held
you could also buy.
captive.
You could also buy a puzzle of it. So
A
hold on. So
puzzle?
how much Midnight's vinyl? How much does it cost? Do you think a vinyl cover? Okay,
$20?
costs $30.
$30 times 4 plus 40 or plus 50?
50 plus
Oh
50.
my god. No.
How much is that? Do the
No.
math.
I don't want to do the math. You're the
Do
one
the
who
math.
always has math in the head.
Okay, so $30 times 4, that's $120 plus 50, that's $170 to get your hands on a Taylor Swift clock. Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
That's,
Marcus, is there
that's not
anything else
including
about-
tax.
Oh, or shipping. Jesus Christ. Because you know Taylor ain't offering free shipping.
In America, look, in New York State, that's $185, baby.
That's crazy. Marcus, is there anything else about the Lighthouse you'd like to talk about?
Honestly, look, I could talk about it all day. And honestly, if I were more educated in film or poetry or whatever, then we could even talk about it for even longer. But hey, I've said everything I've had to say with my level of intelligence. So thank you very much for joining us.
Wait a second.
Have you said
Why would
everything
I-
you want to say?
No, because if you buy these, they're $30
Oh
a
my
piece, but there's a bundle
god!
for $170, but it comes with the albums. I'm confused. I'll figure it out. There's nothing else about the Lighthouse I want to talk about now.
But you want to talk about Taylor Swift.
Yes, I want to understand what's happening. Here. Have you listened to
$185. And
Midnight's?
you know what? You know what I bet you, Nick? You know what I fucking
No.
bet you to? There will be a special edition of the fucking thing as well. There's going to be a special edition with a fucking bonus side or some shit. And or they'll sell all of them bundled together later down the road when they need to just fucking get rid of them.
Honestly, I wish I owned this. It's really cool because the vinyls are also really cool, like looking colors and shit. Like it looks like a tree stump. Like it's orange with like.
You know
the
what you
rings in
do?
it.
You and 3 other Swifties get together and each buy one, and then when you join together, you can be like Captain Planet and form the album. Form
Or
the
like
clock.
once every 4th month, I get all 4 albums for my house, and then I give them up.
Sisterhood
get us
of
outta
the
here.
Traveling Taylor Swift Vinyl Clock.
Finish the Lighthouse episode.
Did you enjoy The Lighthouse?
I think so.
Nice.
I think I really liked it. I really need to watch it again. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I need to sit with it more. I need to like think about it. I need to, at the very least, I'm gonna rewatch some of those scenes, some of those monologues. Like that monologue he gives, like when it's just like on Willem Dafoe's face for like 5 minutes. It's just like fucking like art. Like I just want to watch him again. I think so.
Yeah. There's a lot of beautiful shots in this film. I would
Yeah.
have an entire wall of just stills from this film if I could.
That'd be a little weird,
But
especially
it
if
would
you
be
pick like when he was
beautiful.
masturbating naked under the water.
That's a good scene though. It's still
Or
it's
fucking a
still
mermaid.
Good, still good imagery. Still
Giant
good
picture
shit.
of Robert Pattinson fucking a mermaid on your wall.
Honestly, I would
get-
do it. I'd
Oh,
get a
Christmas
tattoo.
present. I got it. I'll lock it in.
Nick, would you recommend the film?
Ooh. Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
Nice.
I
Would you
think
watch-
everyone should
Oh,
try.
sorry.
I don't think most people are going to get through it.
Yeah.
but it's just I think so. I think this could be some people's favorite film. I remember a guy I worked at a bar with and it was his favorite film.
Wow.
He just said it was his number 1 film.
Would you
And,
watch
you
another Robert Eggers film?
I don't know because I didn't have any intention to watch The Northman, but that's
Don't
only
watch
because I
that
got
one.
bad reviews.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't watch that one.
If one comes out with good reviews, I'll be interested in it.
Okay. It's
I
just
don't know.
it's just
I-
Hamlet.
It depends.
The Northman is just
Mm.
Hamlet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Mm. But I also really didn't enjoy my experience watching The Witch.
That's true too.
I don't know.
That's true.
I'm oh
You're like
for one
half
for
of
one.
yeah.
Yeah. 0-1-1 is the record right now, so we'll see how it turns out.
Okay. And final question: would you have rather watch
was it.
Wolf Cop?
Oh, Marcus, honestly, I think I would have, even though I like to think I would have rather watched Wolf Cop.
Nice.
But that's not the question we get for next week, because next week we are watching your suggestion of Chainsaw Man. That's right. You guys decided on patreon.com/nowtrythiscast that you wanted us to watch the first 4 episodes, at least, of Chainsaw Man. If you want to influence the tries for next month, go ahead and go to patreon.com/nowtrythiscast. Join the community. You only have to do $1 to join the community, and you get that voting power, that sweet, sweet voting power to decide what we do. And guys, you can follow us everywhere at Now Try This Cast. Join the conversation. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you would like more, something different. We are here to listen. I'm Nick. That's Marcus. And this was Now Try This.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. You guys are the absolute best. We love you. Remember to go out there and try some things. Good night.
Good night.
Friends get together so they can try things. Yell about it, it's podcast so that you can try things. Now we will stop singing so that we can all now try this.
Boo, boo, doo, doo, doo.
Ba-da-ba-ba.
Lighthouse,
They have a nice Lighthouse poster from Display. You know that metal poster
The
thing?
light is so bright. The lighthouse shines through me
That-
and gives me a fright. This is a spooky Halloween song for the lighthouse. Yeah, you're welcome.
You're just trying to make my job easy to give me something to put at the end of the episode. I appreciate it. I guess I don't have to think about it now. I mean, what else would I talk about me looking fat in the mirror today? Like, what else? I guess that's going in. Thank you so much.